annoys you about what some of the blue team guys what they do. And he said the worst thing by far is that they just adopt unrealistic strategies and tactics, and they just tend to unplug everything from the network at the start of the exercise, and then they start slowly rebuilding. We also had one of those in ours, essentially that did exactly that. So phase 3, the third morning, or the second day in the morning, essentially the goal was to find these HMI terminals and see if the red team could get a hold of the SCADA infrastructure. In the end, only one of the 12 model factories was set on fire, and it was went off at 1300 Zulu on the second day, and you can see how it was set, and you can imagine if all 12 of those had been going off at once, I'm not sure that the fire alarm system would have held. Okay, so one of the differences, though, between just bringing in a red team and what a military or an intelligence agency might do to you is the fact that our red team just really didn't understand how the factory processes worked. Our Sandia red team, if their goal were to take on your company, they would have the necessary support personnel to probably figure out how to do you in and blow up your factory, theoretically, that our red team just didn't seem to have. And so it was an issue that maybe more red team, green team communications or training could have helped, but it's always hard with these CDXs because all these people you're bringing in for the 2-day exercise, they're really busy people otherwise. So the phase 4, this turned out to be not such a great idea, but we allowed the red team essentially to start destroying everything. And what they did was sort of destroy their own ability to win the game, essentially, because the white team had no idea what was going on. And this was really demoralizing for the blue team, for instance, as well, because there was so much chaos and destruction. And so one of the recommendations, I'll show you in a second, is do not have this kind of phase. You really need, throughout the CDX to have, this could be on, day 5 when it's over, perhaps, but, everything you do, there's so much time and money and effort that goes into it, really needs to have a clear point and a goal. So here's some of the vulnerabilities that were exploited by the red team. In the end, they had 80 computers. Here's some more stuff that they did. One of the significant things is that they had a 0-day that was really good for just about any browser in existence today. The problem was that you really need, for a cyber defense exercise, dumb users. And this is another category of people that we thought that the white team could just fill in essentially quickly. And it was absolutely not possible because, 1, they weren't tech enough, and 2, they're too busy doing other things. And so one of the recommendations, which you'll see, is to have a much more robust white team and some technical people there, but also, unfortunately, you need to allocate some people who are really just dumb users because otherwise you don't have any really client-side exploits, right, and client-side attacks. That the red team was kind of stuck, hacking itself without relying on any of the dumb users internally to help them achieve their goals. So Blue Team 5 was an easy winner in the game. They were able to take all their essential services and move them to a higher security virtual machine. They used out-of-band communications from the beginning, IPsec filtering, and after the first part of the game, I think the word was that the red team, apart from some denial of service activity, was able to gain really no points against them. And I talked to the guy the other day on the phone. He said that they felt like they were able to find the malware very quickly in the back doors and shut them off. Here are some of the things that the blue teams did successfully, within Linux and Windows and just on the network. But AppArmor, I understand, was really helpful. The SE46 computer integrity system, they also the winning team employed that. So were the goals met for the exercise? Well, we hope so, but I think to a certain degree, one of the things we wanted to do was just have the exercise work so that everybody felt that they were gainfully employed, and it appeared that happened. There was very little downtime reported. We were able to at least look at the cyber terrorist SCADA scenario. We had a lot of people. It was over 100 people from 7 countries, so some of the lessons, more white team manpower, and you have to have at least 1 white team member per blue team and 2 for the red team. There's a lot of mistrust there, frankly. If the red team says we've done X, you'll get the blue team saying they absolutely did not do that, and vice versa. And part of the thing about cyber attack and cyber defense is that there is a lot of uncertainty, frankly. Am I under attack, or am I not? So enough said on that. It's very important to have one full day, we think, after this exercise that's only on mechanics, that is on connectivity, bandwidth, rules, scoring. You cannot have any questions once the bell sounds and the game starts about scoring rules and I can't log in, my passwords don't work, or I'm trying to do X, Y, but the bandwidth is not there. All of that, you need to spend a full day on those efforts. You need dumb users, and so don't forget that. These are like your interns or something, to bring them in. And we truly had wasted O-Day. From the standpoint of the red team, that was going to be their way to get into the network on the HMI side. VMware Server Console was a failure, really. It was too big and slow, and it didn't work with certain types of software, and so that we need to come up with another solution. They're already working on that for next year, and you might be interested in that. For instance, you can contact us. The blue teams, they really need some administrative rights. They can't always ask the change control board or the white team or the green team, can we do X, Y, or Z? There's just no time for it. So to a certain extent, you really need to give your blue teams the ability to download and install software, and perhaps think about that prior and have maybe a better server than we did with patches and software on it that they may need. In any project this big, you can imagine there were 7 different clashing agendas, and so that's really critical to have a large white team with really sort of maybe even military style authoritative, you got to do this and you have to do it by Monday sort of thing, because everybody's so busy. You can imagine up to a CDX, and once it starts, a lot of people really haven't had time to think about it. Final thought for me is some of the challenges inherent in a CDX are the same challenges that you're going to have in the real world. I mean, you're not going to have any 2 CDXs that are the same, and that's probably a good thing, because there might not be 2 cyber attacks that are ever quite the same. We don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now. We have no idea. The intangible nature of cyberspace, very subjective. And we had one at our conference recently, this Martin Lubicki of the RAND Corporation. He spoke about this idea he's working with, Sub Rosa cyber war, which I thought was quite interesting, in how you can imagine a fairly healthy cyber war take place between 2 nation states, and nobody knows about it. Why does nobody know about it? Because there is no incentive for either side to discuss it, right? Because the legal issues, the political issues, you might want to hack back, maybe you don't know quite what they've got, you don't want to let them know, you want to try and do what they did to you, etc. There's just too many unknowns in cyberspace, too many intangibles, such that you could imagine even a fairly healthy cyber war going entirely unreported. Now, I know there's a new thing in Estonia. There's a lot, like, for instance, I mentioned this online elections, online taxes, Skype. There's a number of the Estonia cyber war of 2007, and so there's a number of firsts, and there's a new first in Estonia. There's something called the Estonian Cyber Defense League now, which they're only just unveiling. And I think it stems from 2007, but it's also something that you might want to look out for. And they were discussing it. There was a general over at the Black Hat this week discussing the same thing about how is you know, he works at the Office of Secretary of Defense, and how can he get into the society in America and figure out, you know, who's under attack? And there's so much intellectual property, for instance, there's university work and all of this stuff. And so, from a certain standpoint, these are all non-military targets, right? You're talking about the University of X, University of Y, or this company that are probably the primary targets, perhaps, for cyber defense and cyber attack. And, you know, the stock exchange, for this is not a military target. It's not even a valid, perhaps, you know, military target during wartime. However, you can imagine that these are healthy targets. Anyway, enough on that. So I asked him for all this documentation. I said, can you tell me some more about the Cyber Defense League? And he sent me a bunch of documentation. But they're just unveiling it now, and it's kind of a national guard for cybersecurity in Estonia. And so this is going to be interesting to watch. One of the reasons that people like Estonia on this cyber issue is that it's a great sort of incubator or test bed for all these things. And again, I think this is really a new first for Estonia, maybe. And I heard from somebody, I have no idea if this is accurate, but they might be looking to expand this to about 10,000 people, which is a lot, especially in a country as small as Estonia. That would be like 1 million people in our country or something. But anyway, so these are the two pictures that he sent me of personnel in the Cyber Defense League. He actually sent me these yesterday, and I don't know if this is intended to be kind of a joke or not, but he's probably saying these are some of the people that are his targets to be personnel in the Cyber Defense League, which they don't look like cyber defenders, they look like dancers. So references, I'm going to be on the panel here next, so unfortunately I don't have Q&A across the way, but I'll be around for the next couple of days, and I'm willing, I think we have a few more minutes left, you can ask me questions now if you like. Thanks.